We finally have more information about Deep Rock Galactic Season 5. Here's everything from Ghost Ship Games' most recent On the Horizon 2024 stream. Season 5 will see a new mission type added to Deep Rock Galactic. This mission is dubbed Deep Scan. In it, players will be tasked with locating morkite seeds that are contained in large underground geodes deep within Hoxus 4. Players will start missions off with a resonance scanner. This scanner, or telemetric rangefinder, as they also called it, is used to locate resonance crystals. Locating these crystals with a telemetric rangefinder works like a game of hot and cold. Resonance crystals are located underneath terrain and aren't visible otherwise, meaning players will have to dig to find them once they're close enough. Once players have located a crystal, a machine will be called down, at which point it can be hooked up to the crystal to perform a deep scan. The process of locating crystals and performing deep scans will need to be done 3 or 4 times, and once complete, the location of the morkite seeds will be revealed. Mission Control will then send down a new piece of machinery currently dubbed a drillivator. Once boarded and activated, the drillivator will drill players deep into the crust of Hoxus 4 and towards the morkite seeds. The drillivator will slow down on occasion as it comes in contact with rough patches of earth, slowing players' descent and giving the mini bugs crawling down from above the ability to catch up. As of now, it seems as if the drillivator will need to be maintained all the while, similar to Doretta. Once players crack through the geode's exterior, they'll need to harvest the morkite seeds within and deposit them into Molly. They'll then be allowed to extract. Pairs of special extraction jet boots will be retrievable from the drillivator at this point. With these boots, players will have to fly back up through the hole to locate extraction. Next up is a brief update on the seasonal event, which GSG didn't give us much information on. All we know as of now is that the event will involve a new mineral known as korstone. Korstone is contained within these rock formations. There are 3 new enemies coming to Hoxus 4 in Season 5. The Barrage Infector is one such enemy. It's an alternative to the Spitball Infector, being both a ranged and stationary foe. Rather than firing singular high DPS projectiles, it fires lower DPS projectiles in a shotgun spread formation. It seems as if these projectiles will stick to the ground for a few moments before bursting and dealing damage to players around it. The next enemy coming to Season 5 is the Vartok Scale Bramble, yet another ranged and stationary foe. Unlike the Barrage Infector, this enemy will almost always spawn on walls and/or ceilings. Before it can actually be dealt with, players will first need to locate and destroy the 3 pulsing orbs connected to it. This graphic doesn't accurately convey the distance between the Scale Bramble and the glowing orbs. Once the orbs are destroyed, the enemy will become vulnerable. How this foe's projectiles will function is almost entirely speculation as of now. My assumption is that they'll be high DPS threats with projectiles stronger than but similar to the rival's sniper turrets. Last on the list of new enemies is the Glyphid Stalker, an invisible and quiet enemy that hunts players, dealing significant damage once granted the opportunity. Its attacks will deal significant damage and disable players' shields for a short duration. However, according to Ghost Ship Games, they won't necessarily be a part of common bug swarms. They'll announce their presence both when they spawn and just before they strike with a battle cry. Moving on, Ghost Ship Games has revealed that there will be 12 new overclocks in Season 5, 1 for each primary weapon. There will also be a major rework for 1 overclock, though anything beyond that is speculation. 4 of these 12 overclocks were revealed on stream, each of which will now be shown on screen. Quickly going through these, Pump Action turns the Warthog into a pump action shotgun, increasing damage and enemy penetration in exchange for reduced magazine and ammo capacity. The bullet spread is also increased. Mortar Rounds turns the autocannon into a mortar, sacrificing fire rate and ammo count for more damage and larger AoE potential. This could contend with Fat Boy when it comes to team killing. Next up is Inferno, which adds an alternative firing mode to the flamethrower. This alternate mode charges the flamethrower, consuming extra ammunition and reducing movement speed before launching a row of flames forward. This leaves a blanket of fire in its path. Marked for Death is an M1000 overclock that turns it into a support weapon. While normal shots are unchanged, focus shots will deal virtually no damage. Instead, they'll mark enemies hit. Marked enemies will take extra damage from all sources. Focus speed when using this overclock is increased, but magazines are smaller. Zooming out once more, a new performance pass will launch with a new season. Here are a couple of screenshots of what to expect. The new weapon framework is called Neotech, and of course, here's a picture of that. We also found out that Hazard 6 won't be added to the game, and that's because Ghost Ship Games is implementing a different difficulty system beyond Hazard 5. This difficulty is known as Hazard 5+, and it allows you to change certain difficulty-related aspects in a modular fashion. While the base difficulty for this mode is the same as Hazard 5, 4 categories can be tweaked to make certain game aspects even harder. Aggression will modify enemy projectile and movement speed. Player vulnerability will increase the damage players take from all sources except for fall damage. More enemies will increase the number of enemies that spawn, and tough enemies will increase the amount of damage they can take. Another great change from GSG to look forward to is the ability to reactivate old seasons. This will allow players to activate old season events and re-enable performance passes for the season they've selected. Better yet, all progress from previous performance passes has been saved, meaning everyone can start where they left off. You can play with players who have different seasons enabled, but in-mission events will reflect whatever season the host has selected. XP and performance points will go to whatever seasonal performance pass that a player has enabled, despite what the host has enabled. Still, daily challenges that require specific seasonal events will need to be done in lobbies where those events are possible. Because old season season reactivation will be in the game, my understanding is that, according to Ghost Ship Games, all seasonal cosmetics that were previously placed in random loot pools such as cargo crates, lost helmets, and matrix cores will now return to only being obtainable on their respective seasonal performance pass tracks. When you come across a cosmetic on the performance pass that you've already obtained through one of these random loot pools, you'll instead be rewarded with credits when you unlock that cosmetic on the performance pass. Scaling down again, this season will see the introduction of several new anomalies and warnings. Blood sugar is a new anomaly that causes players to lose health over time. In exchange, however, killing enemies will grant HP. Secret secondary is a new anomaly that adds a second secondary objective to whatever mission it's activated on. Duck and cover is a new warning that increases the amount of ranged bugs in a given mission. And lastly, Ebonite outbreak adds Ebonite enemies to the normal enemy pool. Ebonite enemies are vulnerable to melee and power attacks. According to Ghost Ship Games, something will take place during the warning that enables power attacks to be used more frequently. Perhaps Molly will provide overcharged cells, similar to the Ebonite bug machine event. GSG is making a handful of relatively minor tweaks to the game as well, that I'll quickly list off as we wrap this up. Starting with one of my favorite changes, a new phase has been added to the Armor and Heartstone fight. This phase sees the Armor and Heartstone summon crystal claws from the ground. These claws have the ability to imprison players and deal damage to Doretta. If a player is captured, they'll need to be mined out either by themselves or by teammates. This phase can replace the crystal or meteor phase of the fight, adding a bit of much needed variety to the mission. New cargo crate cosmetics are being added to the game to make up for seasonal cosmetics being put back on their respective performance passes. A promotion tracker is being added to player borders to show just how many times someone has promoted their dwarf. Cosmetic filters are being added to help players locate their preferred clothing. Some player affliction overlays are being redone, and here are a couple of the ones they showcased. Over 20 cave formations are being added to the game to help keep things fresh, and lastly, 3 new paint jobs are being added to the maintenance rewards track. Overall, this is looking to be one of Ghost Ship Games' biggest and best updates since the game's full release. I'm particularly excited about the new sort of sub-biome that's being introduced in the form of the Morkite geodes, and I'm curious to see if there's anything more to those special extraction boots they briefly talked about. It'd be interesting if they had some sort of separate mechanic that needed to be maintained when flying back up through the hole, but my assumption is that they'll just be juiced up jetty boots, which is fine too. Either way, the visual of racing back up through the hole to get to extraction is an exciting one. I also wanted to commend GSG for their solution to the Hazard 6 problem. After what I imagine was much contemplation on their end, putting various difficulty modifiers in the hands of the players was a very good decision. One factor they took into account when coming up with the Hazard 5 Plus system was player performance, stating that just cranking all the values, including the amount of spawned enemies, may have made what would have been Hazard 6 unplayable for a lot of people, but that's enough yapping from me. I recognize that I am about a week late to the party, hence why I've condensed all the information I could into this rapid fire format. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed the brief recap, and hopefully next time we get some Rogue Core news. If you think I missed anything, or if you have any thoughts to share, feel free to leave a comment. Bye bye.